episode of the Fairway to Retail Success is brought to you by AGM vendor partner T-Commerce, the online retail solution for golf facilities. Give your members 24/7 shopping with no inventory risk. Visit tcommerce.shop to learn more. Now, back to today's episode. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Fairway to Retail Success in AGM podcast. I'm your host, Justine Cook, the AGM's Director of Membership and Education. Today, I'm thrilled to be joined by Kelly Simon Anderson, merchandiser at Baltusrol Golf Club in Springfield, New Jersey, a facility recognized as an AGM Best of the Best Top 10 Platinum Award winner in both 2024 and 2025. Kelly is originally from southern Minnesota and began her golf retail journey in 2006 at the Founders Club in Sarasota, Florida. She went on to serve as the buyer and merchandiser at Grand Harbor Golf and Beach Club in Vero Beach, Florida, before making her way to New Jersey in 2010, where she has been a cornerstone of Baltusrol's retail operation ever since. Recognized for her creative visual merchandising, Kelly has been an AGM member since 2007, and I was fortunate enough to train under her early in my own career at Baltusrol. She's the person who first taught me the art of visual merchandising and folding. In addition to her role at Baltusrol, Kelly is also the owner and operator of Signs by Simon, a small business dedicated to building fixtures, displays, and creative signage for golf shops. In our conversation today, we'll dive into Kelly's career journey, her approach to displays and guiding rules for visual merchandising, and also her creative work at Signs by Simon. And then what we're really excited to talk about today is her process for transforming a golf shop into a true Christmas wonderland each year. Kelly, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Justine. I love having this chat with you. You do such a great job on this podcast. So it's fun to get to talk to you on it.
Thank you. I know I touched on some of the points of your career and where you've been, but can you walk us through your career journey in golf? How did you get started and how did you end up at Baltusrol?
Yeah, I can. The short story is I really just needed a job. And the longer version is that I grew up on a dairy farm in southern Minnesota. And I would recommend Minnesota to anyone. It's lovely in the summertime, like the best place to be. Winter's a little chilly. My boyfriend, he's my husband now, but my boyfriend at the time and I were young and wild and we're like, oh, we're young, let's move to Florida. So we did. And when we got there, Eric found a job immediately at the Ritz-Carlton in Sarasota at the golf course. And I just went to the beach because it's Florida, it's fun. But you can only do that so long before you need a job, obviously. So I just looked in the classifieds and I ended up, the Founders Club in Sarasota was a newer club at that time. And they were looking for like a shop attendant. And I was like, sure, why not? I'll try. So I did. And Bob Irving was the head pro at the time. And he gave me the job and he kind of took me under his wing a little bit and taught me a little bit about the receiving of merchandise and the buying. He let me go with him to buying meetings and things. And finally it was like, why don't you put out some displays and stuff? And I didn't know anything. Like, so I did. And it turned out I was like good at it, I guess, naturally. I don't know. I just have a artistic eye. I don't want to brag, but that is like I see things symmetrically and whatnot.
She does. I can brag for her. She does see it that way.
And so I was pretty decent at it. And I enjoyed like the whole process of buying and receiving and blah, blah, blah. So I started looking for more like actual, like not just shop attendant jobs, but actual like buyer positions and came across one at Grand Harbor in Vero Beach, which I love Vero, great town, as Justine.
Yes.
And I worked for a gentleman named Frank Metzer there. And he was great. He basically let me do my own thing, didn't really care what I did in display wise or whatnot. And the only suggestion that he made to me was that I should join the AGM because their previous merchandiser did. And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? And I found that it was so beneficial just to, as someone who knew nothing about any of it, to go to these meetings and like meetups and just hear from all of like different people that have been in the industry. It was just so valuable. So I loved it. And then I ended up, you might think, why, how did you end up in New Jersey? So Eric was working at golf courses and he had been going back and forth between Florida and New Jersey. And he ended up being in New Jersey like 8 months out of the year rather than just the 4. So it just made sense for me to come up. And again, I just needed a job and I was looking for like golf course things. And there wasn't much available, but there was a position, which you might know well, for Jason Carbone's assistant. He was the new director of instruction at Baltusrol at the time. And so he actually gave me the job there, which now your mom
Yes.
has taken over beautifully. Everyone loves Joan. So I got that job and he was great. I just needed to work. And Kristen, at the time it was Kimmick, but Everard was running the shop for Doug and Gina Steffen. She was moving on to another club and Doug and Gina needed a replacement. And Jason knew my background in buying and shop merchandising. So he told them that they should hire me. And they came down to his office and talked to me and said, hey, we'd like to have you in the shop. And ever since then, I have been there. And I'm fortunate enough that the club kept me on when Doug and Gina retired and Leah Turner came on. So I was able to like go through the transition and learn all about that and work with you too.
Yes. Yeah. And you went from a pro-owned shop to a club-owned shop, which I'm sure
which
was a change.
It was a change. It was different because Doug and Gina were awesome. They kind of learned the old school way of doing things. And it was more of like a feeling for them. Like I wasn't really involved with like sales numbers or anything. They kept that to themselves, which is it was their business. So that's perfect. And now it's more like we know our sales numbers, our margins, everything. So I know the two different sides of it. So
for sure. Yeah, I know that's a question we get from our members is there aren't a ton of pro-owned shops left, but sometimes those merchandisers do struggle with the idiosyncrasies that come with that. So maybe we need to do a podcast episode on that separately.
Yeah,
that's a whole other topic.
Yeah. And so now I'm with Maggie Fleursuits. She was kind enough to keep me on when she took over for Leah. And we are having a great time there. She does an amazing job. And I'm so excited about having her as the director of retail.
That's fantastic. Thank you for sharing all that. It's fun to see where everyone ends up. You mentioned Kristen Everard, who's an AGM member. So it's fun seeing where everyone's paths cross along.
Yeah, it's wild. Everyone's connected.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Zeroing in on your visual merchandising, I love watching you put a display together because it's like you're building an art piece essentially. So how do you spatially plan your design, your displays? What goes into your planning when you're going to tackle a new display?
There's a few different elements. So when the buying, I don't do much of the buying anymore. I do a few things here and there. When Maggie and Jen do the buying, they put everything in a Golf Drive file that I can access. So I can look and see what is coming and when is coming. And I make these order sheets. So it's pictures of everything. So I know, okay, we have this color coming here, and I can look at it and say, oh, all right, this might be great for a master's display. This is going to be great for Father's Day. This will be great for the member guest or whatever. So I can think ahead of time and decide what's going to be folded, what's going to be hung, which display it's going to go in. And I know this sounds weird, but like I just know how much fits on. I've been there so long that I know I can get 60 pieces hung on a bar. I can get 80 pieces on a 4-way. I can get about 15 styles on a table. Like I just know. So I can take what I'm looking at and be like, all right, this is going out on September 5th and we're going to fold this piece. And that is my main way of doing it. But as you may remember, Justine, not all groups come on time.
Sure.
And you can plan ahead as much as you want, but something always goes wrong, or your group like is sold out in 2
Mm,
days and you
yeah.
need to fill it in.
Right.
So I have what I call my haphazard displays, which are basically I just take a group and I fold it nicely or I hang it nicely and I put basic like
Mm,
decorations with it just so that it looks pleasing to the eye. It might not be the most wonderful display, but it is
right.
always going to look good because it's not messy, there's nothing insane about it. And it can happen quickly, and I can usually hand it off to someone if I need to. I can be like, Jen, can you please fold all these and make a display somehow? Because it's nothing
Mhm.
too intricate. And
Right.
like an intern could maybe do it if
Mm,
I
mhm.
trust how they do things and whatnot. But and for the most part, most of the interns and our staff, Jen and Maeve, do a wonderful job. So I
Mhm.
can trust them to do that too, the
Mhm.
haphazard displays.
So do you sprinkle in, did you say you sprinkle in basics like
Yeah,
white and navy and
yeah,
whatever it might pair back to that you
yeah,
have on hand at all times,
yes.
pretty much?
Yeah, I can sprinkle in anything that we might have. Same with like props too, like
Mm,
basic props too, just maybe a plant or whatever, a crate,
sure.
just so to give visual interest, but nothing too wild.
Sure, instead of maybe one that's a specific theme or
Right.
holiday, that's a little
Yeah.
more focused on a
Mhm.
color.
Yeah. And you just have to have that in the back of your mind because, like I said,
Mhm.
sometimes groups don't come in for a
Right.
month and you wanted to put it out for the 4th of July, but
Mhm.
you got to do something else.
Exactly,
So,
exactly. So, what are your guiding visual merchandising rules? And I know folding is probably the first one that comes to my mind. So, anything specific to folding, how you plan that? If you were teaching, let's say teaching someone new to in the golf shop, which I was one of those people once, what are your visual merchandising rules and anything specific to folding?
yeah. So I probably have 3 main rules. And the first one is tidy fold, sell clothes.
Love it.
I am a big proponent of folding needs to always look very neat and tidy. And I like a fluffy fold
Hmm.
personally. So I try I have had to like kind of relax myself a little bit on this because a lot of the people that come to us have learned how to fold different ways than I
Sure,
have, and they do a lovely job, it's just not the same as I personally would like it,
sure.
and so I've had to tamper myself down a little bit and be like, "You know what? It's okay. It's fine if it's a little bit different than how you would do it," but so I like to make sure at least that once a person starts a style of shirt, they are the person that folds it, because that
Mm-hmm.
pile will always look the same, and it will be fine if another person does another pile because their pile will look the same. So, as long as the piles are the same and neat and tidy and for the most part fluffy. The fluffiness actually really comes from the 3 pieces of paper. So, I just really love that everything is like in a nice neat stack. The logos are all facing. I am just a proponent of if it is neat looking, people will love it. Even if it's
Mhm.
the most simple display that you've ever like if it's
Right.
just shirts on a table with nothing else, they'll still look at it and think someone has taken time to make this
Mhm.
look very nice. They
Mhm.
must really enjoy what they do or they really take pride in their place of work type
Mhm.
of thing. So I do like that. So that's my first one, the tidy folds, sell clothes. My second one is, and a lot of people look at me like I'm a nut when I say this, is Roy G. Biv.
Yes.
Yes. So again, this is like a personal thing for me. When I walk into a store and there is stuff everywhere, it's hard for me to like focus on something. I'm looking all over the place and I just want to ignore it all. And so I find when we have our shop does have a lot of items fully stocked completely. We have bags basically on the ceiling and like a gigantic hat wall. So when you look at the hats and there's different colors everywhere. It's
Mhm.
a little bit much. It's almost, oh, I can't decide. But
Right.
if you put them by color, and it doesn't always have to be perfect rainbow order, it should be all white hats together, all blue
Mhm.
hats together, all green hats together. Same
Mhm.
with the bags. Anything you
Mhm.
have a ton of that people are going to just be overwhelmed with,
Sure.
it helps to focus them in on what they actually want. And so it's just pleasing to them. It's not an attack on their eyes.
Yes.
So that's my second like rule. And my third rule I had to learn personally, and that is someone will love it. And which what I mean by that is there are multiple things in the golf world that I think are ridiculous and don't like or have
Sure.
any use for. And
Sure.
like, for example, back in probably 2015 or something, Gina was ordered like the club members loved a full turtleneck, full cotton turtleneck. Loved it. Every winter, couldn't get enough of them. And then in 2015, Gina was like, "Should we get more of these turtlenecks?" And I was like, "Absolutely not. It's not 1993." Like, I just was like, "No." That was a terrible mistake because that winter we had so many complaints about not having this full turtleneck. And I was like, I'm just sorry. I'm so sorry." And it was, well, see, Kel, people love things that you don't like. So you always have to think about that. And I use that when buying. If I'm doing any buying, I have to remember, okay, I don't like this, but someone will. And same with merchandising. Like sometimes I open the box and I'm like, oh, and I think, you know what? I'm going to put this on the mannequin because even though I am not a fan of it, someone will love it and it will catch the people who love it. It will catch their eye, and the people who hate it, it will also catch their eye, and it will make them come over to the group and they'll find something that they want. So that was a tough one for me to learn because I don't like a lot of things. So I had to again relax myself and be like, yes, okay, move on. Someone will love it.
Yeah, those are great rules, and I think they're a recipe for great visual merchandising
Yeah, I think
um,
so.
set up at your shop. And for those who might be wondering, what is your favorite or type of what paper do you use? Essentially, do you just
Oh,
use what do you use and how many sheets?
okay. So we use just printer paper. We actually used to only do 2 sheets of paper, but
Mhm.
now we have upped it to 3 because I find you can reuse them
Mm,
much longer
okay.
than just the 2. And they are a little more substantial in the fold.
Sure.
And
Mhm.
that is actually, I believe, something that I learned from Jillian at Echo Lake. Like
Oh,
she
cool.
put that out in the world and I was like, "Oh, that makes sense." So,
Very good. Very good. I love it. I love it. Good to know.
yeah.
So, when you aren't crafting your displays at Baltusrol, you're hard at work on your personal business, Signs by Simon, which I believe was came about out of necessity of looking
Mhm.
for something that you couldn't find out in the industry at the time. So, can you talk us through what inspired you to start building these things and how it came about and where it's gotten to?
It did come out of necessity. It was back in 2013, I think it was. Doug started getting merchandise for the 2016 PGA. So he wanted to put like a little section together in the shop that was just that merchandise because he could sell it a little bit earlier. And he's, oh, we should get a sign. I wonder if anyone can make one for us. And we were looking around, and Signs by the Sea, I think, had just started at the time, but they were so busy. It would have taken like 6 to 8 weeks or something. He, of course, wanted it right then. And I was like, I guess I could probably make this, right? Can't be too hard. So I did. I put the PGA logo on it and just wrote in stenciled PGA merchandise, and it was fine. Looking back at it now, it was not fine. It was very crooked and yeah, anyway. But I did keep it. I still have it in my shed.
Aw.
But after that, I was like, "Oh, that wasn't so hard. I think I'm gonna make a couple of display signs."
Mm,
So I made a couple with our logo and it said 19th hole just to put in like the glassware section,
mhm.
just as decorative items. But
Great.
it turned out people liked them. And of course, Doug would sell anything. So he's, yeah, you can buy it. And then he gave me some money for it because obviously I had made it.
Yeah,
And then it turned into I kept making signs to replace the ones that were getting
great.
sold. And then other clubs, of course, were like, "Oh, can you do some for us?" Can so I did here and there, and it's kept me busy for the past few years. It's it was like my DIY spirit. Like, oh,
Hmm.
I can't find this certain thing that I want to
Sure.
display with. I guess I can make it. And
Sure.
anyone can do things like that. It's not, you just put a little effort into it and it turns out fine.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, I think it's a fun, different thing. And I remember during the 2018 US Junior Amateur, you made some
mhm.
signs, and that first morning, all the parents were buying them. They were
Yeah.
so excited. It was a cool, like, souvenir
Yeah.
for them
A
that
fun,
their
like, little,
child was playing in the
yeah.
event. And I think really fun. And it's taken on so many different iterations from like your backdrops, even in
Yes.
displays like the
Yeah.
one I believe you do an open
Mhm.
scorecard one. Then the holiday games. Do you want to tell a little bit about those that you built as well out of wood and painted?
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. So the holiday games again started back with Doug and Gina. They made the month of December like a fun event every weekend with games and whatnot. And I don't remember what year it was, but there was one year that we needed an extra game because Doug had a dice game, a balloon game. He had something else. I think he had three games. And then it was like an extra weekend between Thanksgiving
Oh,
and Christmas. So he was
uh-huh.
like, think of another game, Cal. Think of another game. And I was like, oh, I grew up in like the 1980s/90s when if you stayed at home for a snow day or you were sick, you watched The Price is Right with Bob Barker. And my favorite game on that show was Plinko. And I
Mm.
thought, oh my gosh, how fun would it be to have Plinko for discounts during the sale?
Mm.
So I did end up making a gigantic one. It was almost as tall as me. It was like out of two sheets of plywood and it was enormous. And it had like drywall screws were like the pegs for the thing to go
Uh-huh.
down. And to be honest, it was probably a bit dangerous. If it fell on someone, they would have
I
died.
think it was. I've seen it before. I think it was
Yeah,
a little dangerous.
right? It may have hurt someone if it fell on them. And it took up a lot of space.
Mhm.
So while fun, it just wasn't really practical.
Right.
So I thought to myself, I bet I could make a miniature version, which is what I did, and ended up making like a table sized Plinko board that you just use a poker chip to do the
Mm.
discounts. And so we started using that. And then when the club took over, and since then we have continued on with different things. I made a spinning wheel.
Yeah.
We've done a miniature cornhole. I can't. Oh, last I didn't make this, but we got like a putting mat and I made
Oh,
little pin flags as the discounts. It just kind of went into that. And of course, posting it on Instagram, other clubs would
mhm.
see it and had interest. So I've made a few for different clubs. So
Yeah. Yeah. The
yeah.
cornhole was always popular.
Yeah. Yeah. People seem to love that.
Mhm. Mhm. And then I know you also have done some beautiful staff signs, both
Mhm.
for your colleagues, but also for other clubs. Can you tell us
Right.
how that came about and the journey that's taken?
Yeah. I think that kind of started because I had seen staff signs at other clubs and I thought,
Mhm.
oh, our staff should probably have something like that because I guess not in my case, but most people that come to the club end up moving on and maybe they
Sure.
want like a memory of their time there to be like, yeah, I was a pro at Baltusrol
Mhm.
or I
Mhm.
was the assistant merchandiser at Johns Island or whatever.
Right.
And so I was like, you know what? These people here work hard. I'm going to do this. And so I did. And so, like, when they come, they get their little sign on the wall. And then when they leave, they take it with them. So that was just, I wanted to do that for us. And
Mhm.
then it just turned into like when some of the pros leave, they call me and say, hey, can you do that for my new staff now?
Right.
So it's mostly people that have worked at Baltusrol that I've done it for, but I've done it for a few other clubs too.
Sure. And you're right. Both mine and my husband, Austin, who both worked at Baltusrol, our signs are hanging up in our house with a
Yeah.
signed pin flag of all the
Oh,
staff when we were there. So I'll have to send
yeah.
you a picture, Kelly, but
Oh, please do.
we do have it hanging up in our house. So
Yeah. It's a nice memory.
yes. And then I really enjoyed your pegboard
Oh,
backdrop. How were you inspired for that? And can you explain? Because I've never seen something like that in a golf
right.
display before.
I like to this kinda goes with my, like, focusing people into a display. I like to block what's going on
Mm,
behind. A lot of times I'll use just bags because that's easiest. And or I did the open scoreboard thing or like the flags with the logo. And I think, and I'm sorry if this is wrong, but I think I saw on Fairway and Green's Instagram once, they were they had pictures of their product hanging from pegboard.
Ah.
And it looked so nice. And like, I thought to myself, I knew we had some Fairway and Green coming in for the holiday. And I thought it'd be really nice. It was mostly sweaters and things and outerwear. And I thought, yeah, it's going to be folded, but it'd be really nice if we could like display it on more than just like the two mannequins. Like every piece on the
Mm.
table could be up on this pegboard. So I figured out a way to build, and when I say I figured out, my husband helped me to build like one of those old like schoolhouse chalkboard things where
Mhm.
it's on like legs and then the chalkboard is like up. So one side was chalkboard and the other side I did
Oh, yes.
pegboard.
Yes.
And so I put it over the table and this thing was enormous.
Yes. Very
But I
large.
put it over the table and I was able to do the display in front, and then I could hang everything that was on the table in a beautiful way to make it so you could see everything that was there. And it replicated their Instagram post. So that
Mhm.
was the decision behind that. And I actually loved it, but I had to take it apart because the thing was so huge. Like there was just
Mhm.
nowhere to store it. So that actually
Yeah.
was a one and done thing, but it was
Sure.
awesome.
Sure. And I liked how you mentioned like blocking the
Yeah.
view because it
Mhm.
really helps someone's eyes focus on that display instead of
Right.
everyone's golf shop, they have limited space, so you're not being
Yeah.
distracted by everything behind it. So I want to talk a little bit about the holiday season, which you're probably starting to think about and get ready for. And you really truly flip over the golf shop from like a cozy fall feeling into a
Mhm.
Christmas wonderland. So, can you talk us through your preparations, how you plan for that, and then making that flip over of the shop?
Yeah, so it is a big, like, process, and I used to try and do it all at one time, but that just it's too much. It's too much to do at like, in 2 days or whatever
Right.
it is that you have. So now it's more, okay, right now we're getting fall out. At the beginning of
Mhm.
December, we get the leaves out, all of the mums and things, the fall stuff, the beautiful
Mhm.
fall decorations, which actually is my favorite, but so we have that out and it kind of I leave it. I don't really get the pumpkins out until closer to Halloween and things like that. And then about probably the end of October, November 1st, I start bringing out what I call winter trees. And that's just little pine trees that are not decorative, like they're not decorated with ornaments or anything. It's just purely pine trees. I bring out all kinds of like wood stumps and sticks
Mhm.
and things. And it's basically to integrate with all of the fall decoration. So it's looking more like it's fall, but it's getting wintry, right? And I do that for two reasons. One, because I can put them out at my leisure. Basically, I
Mhm.
don't have to get everything out in one day. But also, like I said, it gives the people, the customers coming in, yeah, winter and holiday is coming. Maybe I should think about buying some gifts a little bit.
Mhm.
So it's a mixture of winter, fall until probably 2 weeks before Thanksgiving. I used to try to do it the week of Thanksgiving, but it just there's too much to do that week.
Yeah.
And so it's probably 2 weeks before Thanksgiving is when I start bringing out, like, the fake presents, the more holiday items, not full holiday, like, not Santas and not, like, all Christmassy stuff right away, but just the fake presents to get people in buying mood and just more, like, snow on the tree, like, snow-covered trees, some
Mhm.
fake snow, that type of thing. And then the week of Thanksgiving, we bring out all of the holiday decorations. And that is actually when we start our like pre-wrapping of
Mhm.
gifts. And
Mhm.
that's when I set up the wrapping station as well.
Yeah.
It takes a good amount of time to get that all set up.
Right.
So we do that and then we do our pre-wrapping of gifts, which is a
Mhm.
huge help to us during the holiday season.
Can you tell us a little bit about what sort of things you might pre-wrap and how you plan around that and how it helps?
Yeah. As I mentioned, Doug and Gina, when they were there, made a big event of every weekend in December. So it was like wild crazy on the weekends with the games. And when the club took over, they extended the games to be week-long events. So while they're not exactly as busy as it was, it's a longer period of time. It's
Right.
not so much in 2 days, but it is
Right.
still busy. It just made sense to have a few things pre-wrapped because you've got people coming up to you constantly, basically, during the day. And so if you have things that you know people are going to buy as gifts, which are
Right.
the golf ball dozens, rangefinders, glassware, bags, which
Mm.
you wouldn't think that you would pre-wrap a bag, obviously, because you want to be able to see it. But what we do is we pre-wrap the box.
Hmm.
We leave one end open so you can put the bag right in, and then you just have to wrap the top and you're all done. And it
Right.
just saves so much time for everyone.
Mm.
And we sell quite a bit of bags, I think, simply for the fact that it doesn't take very much time for
Mhm.
people to get one
Mhm.
during the holiday season.
Absolutely. I think that's so genius. And then the staff can be wrapping things when they do
Mhm.
have a quieter moment.
Right.
They can get ahead and pre-wrap boxes and
Yeah.
golf balls and bag boxes and all that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's basically things that you just know people are going to grab. So
Right.
it's easy.
I think that's a great note to save boxes
Yeah.
ahead of time for the holiday season when you might
Mhm.
need to wrap something or need an extra
Agreed.
box.
Yeah. Agreed. We have a pile of them in the basement right now.
So you mentioned wrapping stations. Can you
Mhm.
tell us a little bit more about that? Like how many you have? Because I believe it's multiple now, and how you have the custom tags and all that.
Yeah, so we do have there's one dedicated wrapping station, but there are probably so the dedicated wrapping station can fit 2 people, I think.
Okay.
3 if you're being real careful on the one end, but 2 comfortably, and then we
Mhm.
have a back counter where you can fit 2 comfortably, 3 if you're scrunched together. So we have probably 4 people wrapping at any given time, sometimes a little bit more. And it's just so nice to have dedicated space for that. So we just made it a priority to create a space for that in our
Mhm.
holiday
Mhm.
season. And part of that too is we have the pre-wrap gifts. So we need a space for people to be doing that when it's not busy, right? And then we do have our gift tag, our custom gift tags that I actually, gosh, how long ago? I maybe 5, 6 years ago I designed them. They are specific to us. We send the artwork out to a printer and they print
Mhm.
them for us and they put hole punches in them so we can tie a
Mhm.
little ribbon on them. And then during November, when it's not terribly busy, the pros that are still there and the retail staff cut grip tape and stick them on the back of everyone so that it is easy to just pull the backing off and stick it on the present.
Yes.
So that is nice. And it also is nice too because when we are busy with people coming up to the counter to buy things, you can hand them one of the gift tags and say, "Can you
Oh yeah.
please write who this is for?"
Yes.
We keep it with whatever item it is, wrap it, stick it right on, and there's no confusion.
Yes. Yeah.
That is a nice perk of those.
Yeah, I think the gift tags are such a simple, probably relatively low cost way to
Yeah,
have a custom thing and
right.
so easy, and it serves a purpose. It makes the identifying gifts a little bit easier too.
Yeah. And we do actually have 2 styles. We have some with the logo on them and some
Okay.
without because some
Okay.
people don't want the person
Sure.
to know it's from Baltimore.
Sure. So then, when the holidays are over, come
Mhm.
to a close, what is the tear down? I'd assume there's a little bit of effort and planning that goes into then. Holidays are over, we got to take down all the decorations and such.
Right. Yeah, so we're closed usually on Christmas Day, and then it's 3 or 4 days after, it depends on where Christmas falls. And I will usually come in the day before we open up and get
Mm.
going on getting, like, the holiday stuff down, like, this very
Mhm.
specific, like, Christmassy
Mhm.
decorations. But and this is where my winter trees come in, to make it easier on myself
Mhm.
and so that the shop doesn't look completely sparse and naked throughout
Right.
winter, I keep all of the winter trees out. So
Mm.
I leave them. They are my winter decorations. And then it usually takes about a day to get all of the holiday specific things. I guess maybe two, because there are a lot of fake presents and it takes a while to get those all corralled in their boxes. But then I can leave the winter things out all
Mm.
season, winter season, and we pull them when we start getting, like, our first groups in the end of February, and then it
Mhm.
becomes spring again. So,
Mm.
it's not terrible, but it's easy enough that, like, I can do it, and maybe if I'm not there, someone else can easily just take
Mhm.
everything except the trees.
Right. Right.
So
I like that. That's a nice way to
Mhm.
transition the seasons. And you're right,
Yeah,
sometimes a shop, any kind of retail
yeah,
store without the Christmas, it looks
yeah.
very bare.
I know, even
So,
leaving the trees, it's like,
yeah.
"Oh, where is everything?"
That's terrific.
So,
Terrific. This has been fantastic. And it's been so great to talk about your career and visual merchandising and holiday, which I hope this episode helps get folks a little bit excited to prepare for holiday in their shops.
yeah, I'm hoping the same thing. I hope everyone has a great holiday season.
Yes, I think it's going to be a great one for all of our AGM members. So thank you, Kelly, for joining us today for this conversation. It was so fun as always. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in to another episode of the Fairway to Retail Success.
Oh, thanks, Justine.
Thank you, everyone, and happy holidays. And we will see you in the next one. Take care, everyone.